Nikola Tesla, the father of wireless.
Part 1. The day when we shall know exactly what electricity is will chronicle an event probably greater, more important than any other recorded in the history of the human race. The time will come when the comfort, the very existence, perhaps, of man will depend upon that wonderful agent.
Nikola Tesla.
Tesla disembarked from the August Victoria in the last week of August 1892. The trauma associated with the death of his mother was alleged to have caused a shock of hair on his right temporal lobe to have temporarily turned white. Whether this occurred could not be determined. However, what is clear from studying photographs taken before and after the excursion is that a qualitative alteration in his appearance took place. The virginal look of adolescence supplanted by the cocksure demeanor of manhood.
After 3 years at the Astor House, Tesla moved on to the Hotel Gerlach,
set up on the European plan by Charles C. Gerlach, its manager. The Gerlach was equipped with elevators, electric lights, and sumptuous dining rooms. The establishment was family-oriented and fireproof.
located on 27th Street, between Broadway and 6th Avenue. The Gerlach was just a few blocks from the new, magnificent Madison Square Garden, a modern galleria of shops, theaters, restaurants, a 30-story tower, and a coliseum with a seating capacity of 17,000.
The garden, which was still under construction, was financed by banker J. Pierpont Morgan, who was funding Edison at the time, and it was designed and managed by Stanford White, the flamboyant target of the prestigious firm of McKim, Mead & White, who would later become an important associate of Tesla's.
Having unpacked his bags and cache of misses at the new hotel, on he went to South 5th Avenue to his lab, which he had been away from for so long.
In long strides, the inventor weaved his way through Washington Square to the heart of that picturesque neighborhood known as the French Quarter. The streets were teeming with cheap restaurants, wine shops, and weather-beaten tenements, establishments Tesla would never frequent himself.
To his surprise, he noticed shop owners waving, whispering among themselves, some even displayed awe,
having been elected to the Royal Society of Great Britain. Now he had become a CL Bright International, and the neighborhood had been awaiting his return.
He came upon one reporter described as the uninviting, huge yellowish brick building of some half-dozen stories, which housed his lab.
Eagerly, the murky interior was entered as Tesla traversed the stairs, taking two at a time.
He climbed past the oily, smelly loud floors, which were devoted to a pipe-cutting factory. He even managed to smile for the owners of the dry cleaning service on the 3rd floor, and then entered his secluded haven on the 4th.
The inventor had brought a number of books which he had purchased abroad, and he placed them in his library before proceeding into the machine room, where he spent some time removing dust and cobwebs.
Tesla's prime concern was to exploit his advances in fluorescent lighting and wireless transmission of power.
Over the next few weeks, he hired several workers and a secretary, and began by dictating an article on experiments he had conducted with Hertzian frequencies and their relationship to the surrounding medium.
He refined his oscillators and designed an experiment whereby one of the terminals of a scissor transistor was attached to one of the city's water mains, and he recorded electrical vibrations at different positions around town. By varying the frequency, he said, IWA is able to watch for evidence of resonance effects at various distances. He thinks that beyond doubt it is possible to operate electrical devices in acetylene through the ground or pipe system by resonance from an electrical oscillator located at a central point. Using vacuum tubes and other tuned circuits as detectors, Tesla began to study their principles of harmonics and standing waves, noting that his instruments would respond at certain points along the pipes, but not at other positions.
There was also mail to answer and equipment to order. In September, correspondence was begun with Mr. Fowler, a German scientist who, with Tesla's help, translated his world-famous discourses into German.
Shortly thereafter, Thomas Edison sent an inscribed photograph to Tesla from Edison.
Tesla also conferred with Professor Ike H. Thurston, a physics teacher from Cornell who had expertise in thermodynamics. At the end of the month, George Westinghouse stopped by with Albert Schmidt, welcomed the inventor home, and discussed the fate of the Tesla Act system.
In May of that year, Westinghouse had won the bid to furnish the power for the upcoming Columbian Exposition, which was going to be held in Chicago, and he reportedly had taken $1 million loss in order to secure the contract. But even at this juncture, he was still not convinced that the Tesla system would prove to be more useful than compressed air and hydraulic power for long-distance transmissions.
All thought Tesla had great respect for the descendant of Russian noblemen.
He still had difficulty hiding his dissatisfaction. Schmidt was relieved that the burden of convincing Westinghouse had shifted. My conviction, Mr. Westinghouse, is that a motor without brushes and commutator is the only form which is capable of permanent success. To consider other plans I consider a mere waste of time and money.
Westinghouse asked for Tesla's help, particularly in aiding Schmidt, Scott, and Lamy, and Tesla agreed,
having been assured once again that the Tesla system was all that it promised to be and more. Westinghouse returned to Pittsburgh with a new sense of purpose.
In the early part of 1893, Lamy wrote, "Much entirely new and novel apparatus was built for our Chicago World's Fair exhibit."
Tesla would commute to and from Pittsburgh during this hectic time to guide the workers on the construction of the large dynamos. Or Lamy, Schmidt, or Scott would stop by in New York for advice. They were also helping Tesla construct his own exhibit, which would appear under the Westinghouse banner.
Scott was in charge of resurrecting Tesla's ingenious spinning egg, a device which not only aptly displayed the principles of the rotating magnetic field, but also paid homage to Christopher Columbus, the explorer whose accomplishments were being honored on this 400th anniversary of his transatlantic journey.
Hence the title of the fair, the Columbian Exposition. The fair was slated to open in May, and this gave them only a few months to complete what was truly a Herculean task. Westinghouse may have won the right to light a fair, but Edison would not allow him a license to produce his liver.
Fortunately for Westinghouse, he did have a valuable patent on a Soyman stopper lamp, which had a rubber bottom where the filament was attached in place of the Edison all-glass evacuated construction.
Although less efficient, the Soyman lamp worked. With less than 6 months left until opening day, he had to produce 250,000 of these inferior bottles. Coupled with the costs of legal disputes, the company was involved in a great risk venture.
However, the price, if it went successfully, would be the right to harness Niagara Falls.
Potential revenues from such a contract would be immense.
End of Nikola Tesla, the father of wireless. Part 1. Thank you for watching.